The rusty wheel bar sat at the edge of a dusty highway, miles away from the nearest town. Its neon sign flickered weakly in the stormy night, half the letters burnt out, reading simply, "R. Sty Wheel." Inside, the atmosphere buzzed with laughter, music, and the clinking of beer mugs. Grease-stained bikers swapped stories about rides, rival gangs, and nights that blurred into memory. Among them moved Lily, the waitress everyone liked but no one really knew. She was young, maybe late 20s, with kind eyes and a soft, steady voice. Her hair was always tied back, her uniform simple, a white shirt tucked into black jeans, sleeves rolled to the elbow. She worked with quiet grace, weaving through loud tables and spilled beer like she belonged in chaos. To most, Lily was invisible, just another face in the background of their wild nights. But if anyone paid closer attention, they might have noticed something off. The way she watched every door, how her gaze lingered on certain customers, or how she always carried a small notebook tucked inside her apron. That night, though, Lily's calm world was about to shatter. The thunder outside cracked like a whip, and suddenly the bar doors flew open. Rain sprayed in as a man stepped through the doorway. The laughter dimmed, the jukebox music stuttered into silence. Even the old bartender froze mid-pour. It was Rex Dalton, leader of the Iron Serpents, one of the most feared biker gangs in the state. He was a wall of muscle, wrapped in leather, with a beard that looked like it had never seen a razor, and eyes sharp enough to cut glass. A serpent tattoo slithered from his neck down to his hand, curling around his wrist like it might strike at any moment. Behind him, 4 other bikers entered, his crew. Big, loud, and dangerous. "Evening, folks," Rex growled, his voice like gravel under boots. No one answered. The sound of dripping rain filled the silence. Then the bartender, trying to keep peace, cleared his throat. "Rex, usual?" "Make it 2, Rex said, glancing around before his gaze landed on Lily. She was wiping down a table near the back, pretending not to notice him. But she could feel his eyes, cold and heavy. The way predators stare at prey before they pounce. Rex smirked and walked over, boots echoing. "You new here, sweetheart?" Lily looked up, forcing a polite smile. "Been around a few months." "Funny," he said, leaning closer. "I'd remember a face like yours." "I just try to do my job and stay out of trouble," she replied softly, stepping back just enough to keep distance. Rex chuckled, taking his beer from the bartender. "We'll see about that." He raised his glass to his men, who howled and cheered before downing their drinks. Hours passed, and the storm outside worsened. The bikers drank more, their laughter turning louder, meaner. They threw darts at the wall, played cards, and occasionally picked arguments with anyone who looked too long in their direction. Through it all, Lily kept working, calm, quiet, invisible, until fate decided otherwise. As she hurried past Rex's table with a tray of drinks, someone bumped her shoulder. The tray slipped, a mug of beer tipping and spilling straight down Rex's arm and onto his prized leather jacket. The world seemed to stop. Every biker in the bar turned to look. Even the jukebox stuttered mid-song. Lily froze, mortified. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," she said quickly, grabbing napkins. "I'll clean it right up." But Rex stood up, slowly. The sound of his chair scraping against the floor was louder than the thunder outside. "You just made a big mistake." "Doll," he said, his voice dangerously low. Lily swallowed hard, trying to keep calm. "It was an accident. I'll pay for the jacket." "You think you can buy respect?" He cut in, stepping closer. His gang watched, smirking. They loved moments like this, when Rex showed everyone who was in charge. Lily tried to back away, but the counter was behind her. "Please, sir, Rex's hand shot out, gripping her wrist tight. She winced. "Look at this, boys," he said, sneering. "Little waitress thinks she can mess up a man's jacket and walk away." Someone laughed from the back. "Teach her a lesson, boss." Lily struggled, but his grip was iron. "Let go of me." Rex leaned closer, the smell of whiskey heavy on his breath. "Maybe next time you'll learn some manners." And with one sudden motion, fueled by arrogance and alcohol, he grabbed the front of her shirt and ripped it open. The sound of tearing fabric echoed across the bar like a gunshot. For a moment, Lily's breath caught, not from fear but from the shock of the room's reaction. Because as her shirt tore, something gleamed beneath the thin light, a tattoo over her left shoulder. Not a flower, not a name, but a police badge, inked in dark blue, perfectly detailed, complete with a badge number. The laughter died instantly. Every biker who had been grinning seconds ago now stared in stunned silence. Rex froze, his fist still clutching a piece of torn fabric. His eyes widened as he took a step back. "What the hell is that?" one of his men muttered. Lily looked him dead in the eyes, no longer scared, no longer pretending. Her calm voice carried through the room. "Something you should have never seen," she said. The bartender stopped breathing. The air itself felt heavy, electric. Rex stammered, trying to laugh it off. That's some kind of joke? You tattooed a cop badge on yourself." But Lily didn't answer. Instead, she reached slowly for her apron, where a small black device blinked faintly, a hidden transmitter. Her heart pounded, but her eyes were steady. The time for hiding was over. Outside, faint sirens began to wail through the storm, growing louder by the second. The bikers turned toward the windows, panic creeping into their faces. "What's going on?" one of them hissed. Lily finally spoke again, her voice cold and commanding. "You wanted to know who I am, Rex?" she said, taking a step closer. "You're about to find out." Rex's face twisted with confusion and anger, but deep down he already knew. Something was very, very wrong. The door slammed open. Red and blue lights flashed through the rain, and before anyone could move, a voice shouted from outside, "Police!" "Everyone, hands where we can see them." Rex turned back to Lily, realization dawning in his eyes. "You," he whispered, jaw tight. "You set us up." Lily's answer was quiet, but it cut through the chaos like a blade. "No." "Rex, you set yourself up." And as armed officers flooded into the bar, weapons raised, the mighty iron serpents found themselves frozen, just like the night itself. The storm outside raged on, but inside the rusty wheel, silence ruled. The moment the biker ripped that waitress's shirt, the whole world learned the truth, and nothing would ever be the same again. The bar was no longer filled with laughter. The air hung heavy with gunpowder, fear, and disbelief. The rusty wheel bar, once the Iron Serpent's stronghold, had turned into a police operation ground. Lily stood perfectly still as flashlights and red-blue lights flickered through the rain-soaked windows. Police stormed in, shouting commands. "Hands up! On the ground! Nobody move!" Rex Dalton, the man who moments ago ruled the room with arrogance, now stood frozen, his hand still clutching the torn edge of Lily's shirt. For a long second, his mind refused to accept what had happened. He looked from Lily's calm face to the tattoo that had just shattered his entire world. One of the bikers made a move toward the door, but an officer shouted, "Don't even think about it!" As rifles swung toward him, the man froze mid-step and dropped his hands. Rex's throat felt dry as he slowly raised his arms. His voice came out rough, uncertain. "This some kind of setup? You a cop or what?" Lily's eyes were steady. Her calm was colder than the rain outside. "Detective Lily Harper, Undercover Organized Crime Division." The room gasped. The bartender, who had known her for months, blinked in confusion. "You're a cop?" he whispered, stunned. She gave him a quick, apologetic glance. "I had to be. For your safety too, Tom." Rex's jaw clenched as two officers moved toward him with handcuffs. "You tricked me," he hissed, his voice low and venomous. "You smiled, you poured drinks, you acted like one of us." "That was the job," Lily said quietly. "And you made it easy." The officers seized Rex's arms, forcing him to the ground. He struggled once, but the weight of two trained cops pinned him quickly. His gang members followed one by one, their shouts echoing through the rain. "Get your hands off me!" "I didn't do nothing." "Rex, say something, man." But Rex said nothing. His mind was spinning, memories flashing of every time Lily had been nearby, listening, smiling, writing something down. He'd thought she was shy, maybe even afraid of him. Now he realized she'd been studying him all along. Outside, police vehicles lined the dirt road, their headlights cutting through the downpour. The storm had become a fitting soundtrack, wild, violent, and unstoppable. 20 minutes later, the chaos began to fade. Most of the gang had been handcuffed and loaded into vans. The bar, once filled with the roar of laughter and engines, now held only silence and the metallic click of cameras as detectives documented the scene. Lily stood by the counter, wrapping her ripped shirt with a police jacket. Her hands trembled slightly now that the adrenaline was fading. A familiar voice came from behind her. "Nice work, Harper. That's one hell of a bust." It was Captain Morris, her supervisor, a heavy-set man with tired eyes and rain dripping from his coat. He walked toward her, nodding with pride. "We've been trying to nail Dalton for 2 years. You just brought him down with one move." Lily exhaled, still trying to steady her breathing. "Did we get them all?" Almost, Morris replied. "2 of his boys tried to slip out the back, but the highway patrol caught them. We recovered guns, cash, and a shipment of stolen parts in their trucks. Enough to put them away for decades." She nodded, her expression unreadable. "Good." Morris glanced at her, noticing the exhaustion in her eyes. "You okay?" Lily looked down at her hands. The same hands that had poured hundreds of drinks for those men, listened to their lies, pretended to laugh at their stories. "I will be," she said softly. "It's just strange. I spent 6 months pretending to be one of them. Hard to turn it off in a single night." He nodded knowingly. "That's the cost of going undercover. You play the part until you almost believe it yourself." Rex, sitting in handcuffs near the door, overheard the conversation. Rain dripped from his hair as he glared at her. "You're not a cop," he said, voice rough with disbelief. "You're a liar wearing a badge." Lily turned to face him, her eyes sharp again. "Says the man who runs guns, drugs, and extortion rackets under the name of a motorcycle club. You destroyed lives." "Rex, don't talk to me about lies." He laughed bitterly, blood on his lip from the struggle. "You think you're a hero? You're just another player in the same dirty game." She stepped closer, her voice low. "Maybe, but tonight, the game ended for you." The officers pulled him up, leading him toward the exit. But before they pushed him through the door, Rex turned one last time. The storm outside lit up his face with a flash of lightning. "You don't know what you started, detective," he growled. "You think I'm the only snake in this pit?" Lily's expression didn't waver. "Then I'll keep hunting until I find the rest." Rex smirked darkly, as if he knew something she didn't, before the officers shoved him into the rain. After the arrests, the remaining patrons were questioned, then released. The bartender, Tom, stood quietly beside Lily as officers swept up the last evidence bags. "I never guessed," he said finally. "You seemed nice. Too nice for this mess." Lily gave a small smile. "Guess that's why it worked." He chuckled softly. "You risked your life here every night. You know that, right?" "I do," she replied. "But someone had to stop them." Rex's gang wasn't just about drinking and fighting. They were moving weapons through small towns, hiding behind that biker image. Tom shook his head. "Still, must have been hell pretending to be something you're not." Lily looked toward the window, where flashing lights still danced on the wet road. "You'd be surprised what people reveal when they think you're nobody," she said. "They talk, they brag, they forget you're even there. That's how monsters get caught, when they stop seeing you as human." A silence followed, heavy but peaceful this time. When the last police van drove away, Lily lingered a moment longer. The rain had eased into a soft drizzle. She could still hear the faint hum of engines fading into the distance. She walked to the counter, where her small notebook still lay, the one she'd used to jot orders. But hidden inside were notes, sketches, and dates, evidence she'd gathered over months. She flipped through the pages one last time, then closed it with a sigh. As she stepped outside, Captain Morris called out, "Harper, get some rest." "You've earned it." "I'll try," she said, pulling the jacket tighter around her shoulders. The cold air hit her face, mixing with the faint warmth of satisfaction. For the first time in months, she wasn't pretending anymore. She looked back at the rusty wheel bar, its neon sign flickering weakly through the mist. The place had been her stage, her disguise, and now it stood quiet, almost peaceful. As she turned toward her car, she caught a glimpse of something on the ground, a small silver serpent pendant, half buried in the mud. Rex must have dropped it. She picked it up, staring at it for a long moment. Then she whispered to herself, "One serpent down. Who knows how many left?" She pocketed it, started her car, and drove into the night, the storm clearing behind her. Inside the empty bar, the jukebox flickered back to life for just a moment, playing an old country song before fading into static. And for anyone who might wander in later, the story of that night would sound like a legend, how a biker's rage tore open a secret so deep it froze the whole bar and changed everything.